Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, attendees and participants, and welcome to the March 8th, 2022 meeting of the City of Tampa Variance Review Board. From my left, the members of the board are
Una Johnson,
Brett Feldman,
Dustin Pastor,
Lynn Hertak,
Aaron Murphy.
Also in attendance this evening, we have from Legal, Simone Savino. From Development Coordination, we have Jane Madu. From Natural Resources, we have Stephen Eister. And from Transportation, we have Jonathan Scott. There are some procedural rules we need to follow. I'm not sure how much we're doing these days, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, please adhere to safe social distancing as set forth within the room. Please maintain wearing a facial mask at all times. When your case number and petitioner's name is called, please approach the podium. When you approach the podium, please state your name, your address, and if you have been sworn. I'll repeat that again, and I'll probably repeat it 11 times tonight. Please state your name, your address, and if you have been sworn when you approach the podium. The petitioner and or their agent will have 10 minutes to make a presentation. All other participants wishing to speak will have 3 minutes, and then the petitioner will have an additional 3 minutes for rebuttal if needed. The time period as stated will be kept by the board. Any information such as pictures or plans that have not been previously submitted as part of your petition and you intend to present at this hearing for consideration in support of your petition must be individually presented and accepted by the board. After acceptance by the board, you must submit the item to staff for it to be entered and made part of the permanent record. The board bases its decision on competent and substantial evidence which is presented and which meets the criteria required by the city's code of ordinances. Please be sure to clearly state your hardship criteria during your presentation. A majority of the board is needed to approve your variance. A variance granted by the board will be only for what is shown on the site plan and will be in compliance with any terms and conditions stated in the approval by the board. All other city codes will need to be met. If the case is approved, the variance will expire 2 years from the date of the decision. If the case is continued, it will be continued to either the next month's VRB board agenda or the next available position on an upcoming VRB board agenda. If the case is denied, you may wish to have the Variance Review Board's decision appealed by the City Council. You must file your petition for review of the board's decision within 14 days of the written decision. You will not be able to pull any permits until after the 14-day review period has passed. Your cooperation in ensuring that this meeting is run smoothly is greatly appreciated. Can I have a motion from one of the board members to approve last month's meeting minutes, please?
I move to approve last month's meeting minutes.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Terrific. We have a motion followed by a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, the minutes have passed. At this time, I will ask legal staff to please confirm whether there are any ex parte communications or conflicts among any of the board members.
Simone Savino, Legal Department. Good evening, board. Good evening, chair. Can anyone announce or has had an opportunity to review the agenda? And please let me know now if you have a conflict, in which case that would be.
2239.
Okay, noted for Dustin on 2239. And a form has been provided to you, 8B. So when that case is called, you will present your form to the clerk and then excuse yourself from the proceeding.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that should address that. Are there any, I'll ask staff, are there any changes to the agenda that staff would like to address this evening?
Yes, VRB case 22-19 has been moved to the second slot because they require a translator, so we're grouping the cases that require translation.
Okay. All right. Is that all? Terrific. Then at this time, I would like a staff member to please conduct the swearing in. For members of the audience, if there's a chance that you might speak tonight, please stand and be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to give today is the truth and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. You can have a seat.
Good evening. My name is Jane Madu, and I'm with Development Coordination. The first case before the board this evening is VRB 21-113. This is addressed at 2907 West Comanche Avenue. It is zoned residential single family, RS50. And the request is to reduce the eve-to-eve separation from 5 feet to 1.8 feet for an existing accessory structure. And the code reference in, code section in reference here is section 27-290, where the minimum separation has to be 5 feet between the principal structure and the accessory structure. This is an aerial showing the subject property. It is an interior lot in the USF Institutional Planning District. And this is the site plan that the applicant has provided. In the insert, you're seeing, well, I'm not sure the pointer's showing right, but this is the narrowest portion between the two buildings where it's at 1.8 eve to eve, and that's what the request is for today. This is the work without permits. So they're here trying to rectify the situation. This was reviewed by Natural Resources, Transportation, and Right-of-Way. Natural Resources found them consistent with conditions that they meet the landscape code at the time of permitting. Transportation had no objections to the request as well. However, that they would need to apply for an extended family residence if they choose to have a kitchen in this accessory structure. Right-of-Way had no comments, and we have no letters of objection or support for this case. In the determination of the variance request before you, the board shall consider section 27-80 as the criteria for approving or denying the variance request. Staff will be available if you have any questions.
Okay.
Can you ask him if he has his documents that he wants to project?
Si tiene algún documento que necesita mostrar, los puede poner acá. ¿Ok? Si quiere mostrar que diga su nombre y su dirección.
Ya. Vladimir Stackerman Cruz,
La dirección.
2907. Vladimir Stackerman Cruz, 2907 West Comanche Avenue, Tampa, Florida, 33614.
Vladimir Stegman Cruz, 2907 West Comanche Avenue, Tampa, Florida 33614.
And has he been sworn?
A usted ya le dieron el juramento.
Sí.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, you have 10 minutes to explain to us your hardships and present your case.
Sus circunstancias extraordinarias a la Junta, por favor.
Sí, por la falta de inexperiencia hicimos el apartamento sin permiso. Pensábamos que era después que podíamos sacar los permisos. Y medimos de pared a pared 5 pies y no sabíamos que era de techo a techo.
Yes, due to the lack of experience and the lack of knowledge, we did not get a permit prior to the work, and we understood that the separation was between wall to wall from each structure, not from the eave to eave, and the structure is already done.
Okay. You have, I understand that your structure is already built. You're
Entiendo
not
que
the
la
first
estructura
person
ya se
to come
edificó.
before us and
Y es la primera vez que usted viene al jefe
address
de esta
a
circunstancia
failure to
especial.
obtain permits.
Y
But what
la
we do need to
falta de,
understand is the hardship as to why we need to grant you what you're asking us.
Es, ¿bajo qué circunstancias extraordinarias solicita usted tal aprobación?
So what we're looking for this evening is an understanding of what it is about your property, not about what your space needs are or things of that nature, but about your property itself that requires us to grant you the request you're making.
Le aprobemos a
usted tal solicitud.
If it helps, I'll give
Si
you
le
an
ayuda a usted,
example.
le voy a dar
You've
un ejemplo. Por
referenced
ejemplo, usted hizo referencia
in your written materials
en los materiales que
a
usted
25-foot easement at the
que
front of your
hay
property.
25
Perhaps you could
pies
explain to us a little
de
bit more about
entrada,
that.
de separación en el frente del lote. O sea, explique cómo es un lote y déjenos entender por qué usted está pidiendo esta petición.
Bueno, entiendo ahora.
Tengo que decir mi nombre y dirección.
Sí, no, diga el nombre suyo. This is the spouse.
Okay, so we'll need her to introduce herself on the record,
Diga su nombre. para las
name,
actas,
address, and confirm that you've
y
been
ot-
sworn, please.
Y otra vez diga la dirección
Ok.
y diga que usted ya juramentó.
Ok, my name is Kenny, ya juramenté. Mi nombre es Kenny Escoredo Martínez, vivo en la dirección 2107 West Comanche Avenue, Tampa, Florida, 33614.
And you've been sworn.
Yes. Sí. Entonces, do you want me to repeat the question to her again?
No, I think she understood. Right?
¿Entendí? Por favor,
Ok.
siga.
Nosotros tuvimos que, el lote es pequeño, por eso estamos pidiendo a ver si nos pueden aprobar que se mantenga como está la construcción, porque por falta de conocimiento empezamos a construir sin saber que teníamos que pedir antes de empezar un permiso.
It is a small lot, and we were not aware that we had to have a permit prior to the construction. We didn't have the knowledge. So we now have the construction done, and we are seeking your approval.
Hemos gastado mucho en materiales para poder hacer, porque tenemos viviendo a mi suegra en la casa, y entonces
We have spent a lot of money on this project, and we also have my mother-in-law residing in the property.
continúa.
Please.
Siga.
Nos es muy difícil ahora poder hacer cambios porque ya hemos avanzado mucho, aunque tuvimos que parar todo para entonces poder continuar con el proceso que se debe hacer legalmente.
We have already made a great deal of progress on this project. Obviously, we now stop because we now understand that we need to come back to make this request. And we have spent a lot of money on the project.
So I'll repeat what I said earlier, and maybe this will help.
Le voy a repetir lo que dije
We need
anteriormente.
we need to
Necesitamos
understand
saber, entender.
Financial issues aside,
Económicamente, aparte de los
because we
asuntos
cannot
económicos,
consider the finances that you've expended as a hardship. I know that seems like a hardship, but that's not the legal hardship that we're talking about this evening.
Este proyecto, pero estamos hablando aparte de esto, ¿qué otras
We need to understand
áreas, qué otras
what it is about your property, the physical layout of the property,
propiedades, un lote en sí,
that requires the placement of this new structure as close as you've placed it to your existing structure.
esta
En sí lo-
estructura tan cerca a la otra.
Lo principal es el espacio del lote. Al ser un lote tan pequeño, casi queda muy pegado, pero la base fundamental es el tamaño del lote.
The main issue here is the space. It's a very small lot.
Yeah.
And we can't really make it, the separation any bigger because we don't really have the space.
Okay. You still have about 3 minutes. Is there anything else you want to tell us about the property itself? That easement in the front, how it's situated, like it is, those kinds of things. that might help us to understand
Tiene
the
3
space issue.
minutos en cuanto al espacio. Por ejemplo, el espacio de la parte del frente de su lote. ¿Hay algo en específico que quiera decirnos sobre el espacio que está enfrente de la separación por la cual ustedes requieren esto?
Como el espacio del frente.
Sí, el easement, le dijo el señor.
No sé qué quiere decir.
I don't quite understand the easement word, the expression easement.
Okay. If you look at your written materials
Si usted
that you
mira
provided
los
to us, the
materiales que usted nos
application,
entregó a
do you have
nosotros en la
that with you?
solicitud, ¿la tiene con usted? ¿La solicitud?
In the application, on
En
the
la solicitud
last
que
page
usted
of the
envió.
application,
En la última página de la aplicación.
number 2, dos, on the
Número
application,
2, la página número 2. Sí.
it's written, the lot is small and there is a 25-foot right-of-way easement in the front of
En
the
el
house.
frente dice
¿Este es el
25.
frente?
¿Este es el frente? Ok, entonces volteémoslo. Él está preguntando que tiene 25 metros de espacio.
Adelante de la
Sí, pero
propiedad.
In the
esa
front,
conclusión-
right?
Esa conclusión estaba hecha, ¿eh?
That construction was already built before us.
It's not construction. We're trying to understand if that 25-foot easement
Estamos tratando de
pushed your
entender
house back
25.
so that you had less space
Ah, ya entiendo lo que está tratando de
in which to build the new addition in the back.
Está diciendo, él está preguntando a usted que si estos 25 metros, pies de derecho a acceso, los forzó a ustedes para hacia atrás, para que ustedes tuvieran
No.
que edificar esa estructura
porque-
pegada.
No, porque eso estaba hecho de ahí.
Sí,
Es-
pero
es
es
el-
que
el
tenemos
acceso.
mucho espacio adelante y entonces poco espacio atrás.
Yes, well, what happens is we have a lot of space on the front, but we don't have a lot of space on the back.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
Sí, eso me ayuda a entender la situación. Eso se llama derecho a acceso, la parte del frente, easement.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to share with us
¿Hay
this
algo
evening?
más que usted quiere dejarnos saber esta noche? Que lo necesiten.
Bueno, sí que sí.
Para ayudar.
Que necesitamos a ver si podíamos mantener y no tener que tumbar o correr, porque es que se nos hace casi imposible correrlo, porque es que no tengo como más espacio para que pueda tener los 5 pies arriba.
So we have this request because we would like to maintain the current structures because it will be too hard for us to demolish the structure, and we obviously don't have enough space on the back due to the situation on the front. It is almost impossible for us to do that.
Okay, thank you. Does that conclude your presentation this
Si
evening?
concluye su presentación, ¿algo más?
Yes, no, it's fine.
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Se entiende.
I will ask, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this petition?
Si hay alguien ahí que
I don't
quiera
see anybody.
hablar y dice que no quiere
I will now
hablar,
open it up
hay
for
una
questions
persona
from the
que
board. Does anyone from the board have any questions?
Pero usted no tiene ningún vecino. Bueno, a ver si ellos tienen alguna pregunta en la junta directiva.
Could we see the site plan, please? Site plan?
Usted tiene, mire el plan que usted tiene ahí.
Staff will help.
Lo voy a mostrar ahí. Perfecto, mira, aquí lo ven. Sí, y está también ahí. Entonces lo vemos acá. Él le va a hacer una pregunta de acuerdo al plan que ustedes tienen acá, que ustedes pasaron.
Okay.
No hay preguntas, mejor.
Further to say, you have 3 minutes that you can use to do that.
Sí, cuando nosotros tomamos la decisión, usted tiene el derecho a 3 minutos de hacer otra presentación si es que necesita argumentar otra cosa.
No?
¿No tiene nada más que decir? No.
Okay, thank you. I will now close the public hearing, and we will, and I will open it up for a motion from the board to address this petition, please. Or discussion if necessary. Or we could all sit around and look at each other.
So it looks like, according to the plan, I know the one I have on my personal PDF is showing the numbers better, but it looks like if there was no eaves in consideration, it looks like it's 4.5 feet separation
like
from
that.
each other.
Mhm.
And that's a
Does
little
look like it's
concerning.
angled, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that would be at the widest side, I guess, yeah.
Let me turn to staff. Is there, if, assuming, let's say if we were to approve this application, it's gonna have to meet fire codes, it's gonna have to meet all of those, different codes that still apply here, correct?
Simone Savino, Legal Department. That is correct. As far as I'm aware, I will defer to Jane because that's going to go alongside what the approvals necessary are needed for their building permit to be issued or officially issued.
Right.
At this point, I don't believe it's been issued. That's why we're here.
Correct. So ultimately, well, yes, we need to think about those kinds of things. I think those issues get dealt with at the permitting stage when they say, okay, well, you're gonna need to modify the materials because of the smaller eve-to-eve separation. You're gonna need to have some additional issues to address the fire code.
Right, and I don't know what the separation between walls are, so.
Well, I mean, we do know what the separation eve-to-eve is supposed to be 5 feet. I believe that's specifically because you don't want to have fire jumping from one structure to the other. But at the same time, if it were attached, you know, you'd have fire running right along the structure. So, I mean, they're going to have to deal with that. It's really, for our concern, only an issue of, from a space and from a setback eve-to-eve separation issue, can we approve it? The way I see it, it's a pretty small lot. You know, there is some separation, which is, I guess, better than none. They do have the easement in the front. And given that there's no concerns or objections from any neighbors, I could see fit to approve this.
Well, to be clear, it's actually larger than a standard lot. It's 67 by 100. However, the house is set back over 50 feet from the road, supposedly due to an easement. It's not labeled an easement, but it is clearly 50 feet from the road, which is very unusual.
That's 50 feet from the center line of the right-of-way. Just to point that out to you, and if this was an attached structure, there would be a much larger rear setback, that would be an issue
Yeah,
also.
right. You'd be looking at a 20-foot, probably, rear setback, yeah. So, one way or the other.
All right. I move that the variance request for VRB 21-113 for the property located at 2907 West Comanche Avenue for a reduction of the eve-to-eve separation from 5 feet to 1.8 feet with an encroachment of, would that be 3.2 feet to the eaves, be denied due to the failure of the petitioner to meet its burden of proof to provide competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code. Specifically that if this structure had been built connected to the property, he would have a huge setback in the rear issue. I don't see a 25-foot setback issue in the front. That's just right-of-way. The right-of-way is 50 feet wide. That's 25 feet to the center of the right-of-way. The home sits 28 feet off the front property line. The property is not smaller than a standard lot, which would be 50 by 100. This is 67.4 by 100, and I just don't think that the hardship requirements have been met.
Okay, we have a motion to deny. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to deny, second. Ms. Johnson. All those in favor of the motion to deny, say aye. All those opposed? All right, motion to deny fails. Do we have a motion to approve instead?
I'll make a motion. I move that the variance case, or the variance request for case VRB 21-113 for property located at 2907 West Comanche Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction in the eave-to-eave separation from 5 feet to 1.8 feet. I don't know if I put the with encroachment for eaves and gutters. Yeah, so with an encroachment for the eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that there is an unusually deep easement, 25-foot easement in the front of the house, which prevents a lot of building in the back.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Ms. Hurtak, seconded by Mr. Pastor. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the motion passes 3-2. Your petition is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Simone Savino, Assistant City Attorney. It's site specific and it's site plan specific. This site plan does not note an easement. So it's a vague motion and it's a vague second because I just wanted to put that out there for you guys. That's not on here. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do, but it is in our application materials.
It's in their application, but it's not backed up by any other additional information.
Well, neither is a verbal testimony either, but we're supposed to take that as fact.
Understood. I mean, that's separate. Everything that you guys do is tied to the site plan. So I just wanted to
Okay, well,
state that for the record.
okay. I mean, the house is 50, or at least more than 28 feet from the road, which is very unusual on a 100-foot deep lot. So
Okay,
that's kind of the premise of the motion, I think.
I think the record is clear on that, and we can move on.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Madhu, are we on to 2219?
Yes, sir. The next case before the board is VRB 2219, addressed at 2318 West Knollwood Place. This is zoned RS60 residential single family, and the request here is to reduce the side yard setback from 3 feet to 2.7, and the eve-to-eve separation from 5 feet to 4.5 inches for an existing accessory structure. The property owners are Eduardo and Ana Acosta, and the code section in reference here is section 27-290. Accessory structure setbacks are 60 feet from the front, 3 feet from the sides, 3 feet from the rear, and 7 feet from the corner. And also the minimum separation between principal structures and accessory structures are supposed to be at 5 feet, measured eve to eve. This is an aerial showing the subject property. It's an interior lot in the USF Institutional Planning District as well. And this is a site plan that the applicant has provided showing the existing principal structure. They have a pool that is already existing, and then this is the accessory structure for which they're coming in to get the variance. It is a gazebo. And I think I have a close-up of that structure. So here is what their request is, to reduce this side yard setback from 3 feet to 2 feet and 7 inches, and then the eve-to-eve separation from 5 feet to 4.5 inches. This is a work without permits as well. And the applicant has provided pictures showing the existing condition on the property. So this is the existing structure right here, and that is the portion where those, the eave kind of comes together with the new structure, the new accessory structure. And in this image, you see what that separation kind of looks like. And the next picture is the side yard setback at 2 feet and 7 inches. And more pictures showing that gazebo and the associated pool. This was reviewed by Natural Resources, Transportation, and Right-of-Way. No, sorry, Transportation didn't review, but Right-of-Way did. They found them consistent. Natural Resources found them inconsistent because there is an off-site camphor tree, and they did not provide information regarding that tree. Also, they would be required to meet any landscape requirements at the time of permitting. They do have an easement that was released. So there used to be an easement that ran along the side of this accessory structure, but that was released to them, so they were granted that easement. There are no letters of objection or support for this variance request. In the determination of the variance request before the board this evening, you shall consider section 27-80 for the criteria for approving or denying the request before you, and staff is available for any questions.
Okay. As before, if you would please state your name, your address, and confirm that you've been sworn for us.
Y confirmen que ya fueron juramentados.
Eduardo también tiene que decir.
Sí, pero primero usted
Okay. Ana Gloria Acosta.
y la dirección.
The address is 2318 West Norwood Place in Tampa, Florida 33604. And yes, we were, ¿cómo se dice juramentado?
We took the oath.
We,
Sí, sí, sí.
we
Sí,
took the oath.
Juramentado.
Yeah.
Tranquila,
Great.
tranquila.
Okay.
Ana Gloria Acosta, 2318 West Norwood Place, Tampa, Florida 33604. El señor diga su
My
nombre.
name is Eduardo Acosta. I'm living the 2318 West Norwood Place, Tampa, Florida 33604.
Eduardo,
And yes, I'm commercial.
yeah. Sorry. Eduardo Acosta, 2318 West Norwood Place, Tampa, Florida 33604, and I did take the oath. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You have 10 minutes to explain to us your hardships, the issues about the property that require us to approve what you're asking of us. Please remember, hardships do not include, it's going to cost me money to pull it down and put it back up. That's not what we can consider. So we need to hear about the property itself, things about the property that require you to place this where it is, how it is placed.
Entonces estamos aquí para hablar sobre su propiedad, los asuntos relacionados con su propiedad y la razón por la que ustedes están peticionando las circunstancias extraordinarias de la solicitud para que sea aprobada. Acuérdese que situaciones relacionadas con dinero no se consideran como parte de las circunstancias extraordinarias y tiene 10 minutos para hacer su presentación. Entonces siga.
English is not our first language, so I will try to explain the best that I can. If I need help, I will ask the lady. First of all, I would like you to know that we bought a house with an existing building in the same place that we built the new structure. So we didn't think, honestly, that we were doing something wrong, replacing one structure for other one. But we know that lack of knowledge is not an excuse. I would like you to know also that we started this project as a family project during the pandemic, and due to our ignorance in this field, we did it without the necessary permits. This has led us to a series of inconvenience, including the variance that we are presenting today for you, when it became to legalizing it. This project is regarding an extension to the entertainment area to one side of the pool. It will include a bar with counter, a sink, and electricity to connect TV. All of this under one roof. If you grant us of permission and approval of this variant, our intention is to join said area to the pool cage, allowing us to extend our hours of entertainment in the backyard with friends and family. As I said before, we started this during the pandemic, so we didn't know how long it's gonna take, and we want to spend time with closest friend and family. I'm unsure if I should mention that the variance that we are kindly asking to you today is reduce the side setback to 3 feet from 2.7 feet, and the distance between the main building, which is our house, and the structure, eave to eave, I know this is hard, from 5 feet to 4.5 inches. You saw the pictures, but I bring it with me if you want to see it again. We come here to make this as a hardworking people. I know it's not an excuse that we don't have too many resources, but it's important for us that you know that if we have to destroy it, it costs us, if we have to demolish the structure, that will result in a great loss to us. Therefore, we are kindly ask you to please evaluate the situation and if it's possible, approve it. This project will not result in any inconvenience to our neighbors because in fact, during the mailing period, during the process, we have the opportunity to meet a lot of them, and actually they went to our house to see what our structure was about, the letters that they received, and they fell in love with our project. I'm not sure how the process works or how long it takes, but if we could leave today with an approval for this variant, it would be a great joy for us, for our family, for our children, the rest of the family and friends. So it will be, we all will enjoy what God first, this country and our effort will allow us to accomplish in this country. We didn't born here, obviously, and we are really grateful with everything that we have accomplished in this country, and this is part of our, projects as a family. So.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to share with us this evening?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Well, does that conclude your presentation?
¿Concluye su presentación? ¿Algo más?
You still have plenty of time if there's more you want to share. Don't feel pressured to, if there's more you need to say, please say it.
Dile que nosotros podemos cortar esto, que es lo único que tenemos.
No, eso no tiene nada que ver con eso.
Okay.
As you can see, it's a nice area. Well, we think it's a nice area. We did ourselves, but we follow all the requirements, the county, the building departments. It has been reviewed already by an engineering, which provide us with the building plans and the site plan also. So we follow we follow the building construction guidelines, and also we correct everything that he did that we have to correct. So I don't know what else to say. We haven't finished it, but demolish it will be really sad for our family.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't see anyone in the audience, but I will ask if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak about this petition. Seeing none, Does any member of the board have any questions for the applicant this evening?
¿Tiene alguna pregunta específica? Yo tengo una pregunta específica.
Can you, would, the structure that was there before, was it the same size as this structure?
La estructura
The structure was pretty much the same size. It was only a closed structure. It was like enclosed garage, detached. It was rotten and in really bad shape. So yes, it was almost the same size.
The roof is only is the different. The other
Yes.
roofs is a plain.
It was
Flat.
flat roof,
Flat.
roof, and this one, we follow the pool cage
Right.
structure, so we can enclose everything together and, prevent from insects and mosquitoes during the afternoons.
And the old structure was there when you bought the house?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none. You have 3 minutes for rebuttal, should you choose to use it.
le van a dar 3 minutos si es que toca argumentar lo que ellos le van a decir al final, ¿no? Entonces, tranquilo. ¿Algo más que quieran decir?
No.
¿Algo
No?
más? No.
Okay. Well, then, with that, I will close the public hearing, and I will open it up for a motion from the board or board discussion if necessary.
Van a hablar entre ellos, o sea que no interrumpan. Y luego van a hacer una moción.
I think this one's a little bit unique in the sense that, first of all, the lot's wedge-shaped, which creates an angled edge, so we've got like a 5-inch encroachment on the side, but it's also a sloping side. But more importantly, there is an existing building there that, there could be reasonable assumption by the homeowners that that was, allowed to be there, and they were just improving it. So I can see the scenario that they're in. The building separation is really the only one that concerns me, but I noticed on the plan that they showed, it was clouded to be 1 hour fire resistive. I'm not sure how they will accomplish that, but I saw that that was a note on the plan, which means that it's already been identified as something that will have to be corrected through the permitting department. And that is, my greatest concern, because obviously the fire would spread very easily over a 5-inch gap to a wood frame roof. So, I'll make a motion and we'll see if anybody agrees. I move that the variance request for case VRB 2019 for the property located at 2318 West Knollwood Place be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction in the side yard setback from 3 feet to 2 feet 7 inches, and eve-to-eve separation from 5 feet to 4.5 inches, the encroachment of eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of necessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 2780 of the city code. Specifically that this is an irregular shaped lot that leads to angled side yard, and they rebuilt an existing structure that was on the property when purchased, and that they are working through the building department to address fire code issues, and also have received sign-off from engineers regarding the utilities in the structure.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Pastor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Okay, your motion passes 4-1. Have a nice evening.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it really much.
Yes.
Thank you, and have a seat.
The next case before the board is VRB 2214, addressed at 1806 East Caracas Street. This is zoned RS60, residential single family 60. And the request is to remove 2 grand oak trees, one 35 inches and the other 43 inches. And the code section in reference here is section 27-284, where the grand tree, permits for grand tree removal have to be permitted by the VRB. And this is an aerial showing the subject property. It's an interior lot in the Central Planning District of the city of Tampa. This is also in the East Tampa Overlay District. It is a 45-foot wide lot. East Tampa is notorious for having smaller lots, even though it's quite deep. This is the proposed site plan that the applicant has provided, showing how the proposed structure would sit on this property. They have also provided 2 alternative site plans. The first alternative site plan is showing how they would preserve the tree in the middle of the lot. And the second alternative site plan is showing how they will preserve the tree that is towards the front of the lot. This was reviewed by Natural Resources, Transportation, and Right-of-Way. They were found consistent. The Natural Resources memo was uploaded in the staff report. And our forester examiner is here to answer any questions if the need arises. These are pictures that the applicant has provided showing the site and the trees in question. And more pictures showing those trees as they are spread through the lot. There were no letters of support or objection for this variance request. In the determination of the variance request before you, you would consider section 27-284, the criteria for the removal of a grand tree, and section 27-80, the criteria for approving or denying a variance request before the board. Staff will be available for any questions, and Stephen will be here if the need arises.
Okay, the applicant, come on up, state your name, your address, and confirm for us on the record that you've been sworn. Then you'll have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
My name is Chris Beckwith, address 8107 North River Shore Drive, Tampa, 33604. And yes, I have been sworn in.
Okay, you have 10 minutes, go ahead.
So we filed for a building permit on this already. We turned in the plans and everything in the site plan, and it was turned back. We were under the impression that this lot fell under the tree removal zone. But I guess we were missing a couple of the rules. We were under the impression that under 6,500 square feet qualified for that. But I guess there's 2 other rules as far as the width and the length. So the width, it can't be over 65, it's only 45. We weren't aware of the length, that it can't be over 135. This lot's 137. So it's 2 feet too long. And it is actually, I mean, it fits the other 2, but not that one. So when we turned it in for the building permit, they sent back some comments, and I went in and met with them. We were kind of figuring out what to do, and honestly, we went back and forth for a couple days trying to figure out what we were going to do. And then in that time period, somebody else was the one that noticed the 137 feet, and then basically just put a stop to it and said, you need to go get a variance. So that's where I'm at. And I don't know. So again, the way the site plan sits now, with the 2, taking the 2 trees out, the one in the front, we were considering taking out because of the setback of the other houses on the street, where we have to follow the block averaging. So that was the reason for the second one. And then again, there's 3 on the lot. You could, if you draw the 20-foot circle around all 3, you can't even, there's no place to build a house. So I don't know whether or not, we were assuming that with the front setback being 32 to match the other houses, that they would probably tell us to push it back to save that one tree and take the tree out in the rear. I know you saw those alternate drawings. The one trying to keep the tree in the rear and keep the one in the right of way, honestly, really doesn't quite work, because that tree in the back is so large. Its canopy comes, even if we stay 20 feet away from it, the canopy comes 40 feet forward. We would have to really trim quite a bit of the back of that half of that tree off. So that's pretty much all I have.
Okay. Well, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this petition? No. All right, then I will open it up for board questions. Does anyone on the board have any questions?
Well, that was a wholly verbal presentation. It would be nice to, if you could walk us through some of the site plans that you're talking about.
Sure, absolutely. I assumed you guys had seen everything, so, how do I see this? So the site plan there shows, that's just basically showing the 3 trees with the radius around them. If we were to try to keep all 3, showing that there's really not much.
So for clarity, for pictures to the south, to your right, I guess, is the front of the lot, is that correct?
So here, where it says Caracas right here?
Yes.
That's the street, that's
Right.
that's the front of the lot.
Okay.
Correct, yes.
And you have the trees labeled 1, 2, and 3?
I don't know.
They're referred to in the documents as trees 1, 2, and 3. But-
The larger one, the 45 or 40, whatever, would be the one in the back.
Okay,
So the 2 on the variance request are these 2 right here.
right,
So, and the larger one is the one in the rear.
okay.
So again, as I was just saying, if we were to try this option, this green line right here kind of indicates where the canopy of that tree comes to. It's actually probably even a little bit further. So even if we were to try to take just the one in the middle out and move the house forward, a lot of the rear, or I guess I should say the front, a lot of the front side of this tree would have to be removed. And then pushing it back, this is actually a better option. That canopy right there comes towards the front of the house and really wouldn't need a lot of trimming to do that and stay 20 feet away from it, from that one, and removing the rear one. So again, we have again, I gotta follow, supposed to follow the block averaging. They wanted that house at 32 feet, which is on the original, site plan. So that's kind of why we went with, that's how we turned it in.
So would you be amenable to, if we were to approve it, pushed back, would you be amenable to saving that one tree up in the front?
In the middle, yeah,
Yeah.
to save the front too, yeah, exactly. I just didn't, again, nobody giving us a lot of guidance, except telling us we have to follow the block averaging rule, and you gotta get a variance to take the back tree out,
Right.
That's why we did it this way, basically turning it in, saying, all right, you guys now tell me what you want me to do.
Okay,
So-
hypothetically, you could also vacate 2 feet of your lot, and, then you're within the rules and
Well,
take
if I
out all
had
trees
known
you
that,
want.
I wouldn't be here.
Okay,
And again, if the lot was 2 feet shorter, we wouldn't be here.
right,
So that's literally what we're talking about.
okay. Any other questions from the board?
I do. Did you have any reports on the condition of the trees?
Yes,
It's kind
the
of hard to
Dave-
see in the pictures, but.
Dave Riley did a report on the trees, all 3 trees, he gave a C8, which is basically the last level you can give it before he gives it a C9 that says you can take it out. So, all 3 of them were a C8.
What kind of trees are they?
I believe they're all live oaks.
Probably should talk to.
Hang on, I have the, live grand tree,
He's getting
Yeah, they're,
ready.
all three are live oaks.
All right, can we talk to Mr. Eister, please?
Stephen Eister, Natural Resources.
Stephen, what's your take on these trees?
Actually, my recommendation was kind of similar to his. Do the alternative 2, save the tree in the back. My memo kind of mentions if they took out the tree in the middle, they're going to impact both trees. The rear tree is going to lose a large percentage of its canopy, and then they're still going to be closer to the right-of-way tree that's up in the front. So I think site plan 2, it does take out the bigger tree. It's in better condition than the other 2, but if they ever do decide to do a pool or do anything like that in the future, they have that space now, and we don't have to see them again for grand tree removal. So I feel like that's kind of the better option. And we do get 40% shifts in the setbacks, front and rear, to allow for grand tree preservation, so that kind of helps with the whole block averaging. So,
Because I assume they're gonna ask me for a design exception to do that.
as long as you fall within that 40%,
Okay.
I think you're,
Because my other concern is the tree that's in the right of way in the front, that has a full circle, the full width of the lot. I have to get a driveway in there somewhere.
yeah. And that'll be handled during building. They'll make you do an on-grade driveway, things
Okay.
like that.
And we
So-
have a note on there for that, as long as that's acceptable to them.
I mean, if we approve a site plan tonight, I think that handles your DE and your setback, because that's what we're approving, right?
Simone Savino, Legal Department, that is correct. It would be
Okay.
based on the site plan. And I did want to just provide the reminder to the board that if you are looking at each tree, the hardship should be found for each individual tree. Just a reminder.
That's all my questions, thanks.
Okay, so just for clarity's sake, because I thought I heard something, but it sounded like you were talking about another. You're saying site plan 2 is remove the tree in the back, save the 2 trees in the front,
Correct.
and simply shift the house back a little bit to do that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you're amenable to that?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, well, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal should you choose to use it.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you so much. I will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion from the board, please.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I think we should have a little discussion too, just quickly, on the idea of keeping that tree in the middle. That's only one step away from being a cut it down tree as we roll getting closer to hurricane season.
Or I can make a motion and we'll see how it carries.
Sure.
And then we can talk about it.
Rock and roll.
Make a motion that, move the variance request for case VRB 2214 for the property located at 1806 East Caracas Street. Oh, wait, no, I gotta read the one about trees, sorry. Move the variance request for case VRB 2214 for property located at 1806 East Caracas Street be granted as depicted on Site Plan 2, presented at the public hearing for removal, Site Plan Alternate 2, removal of grand tree based upon the petitioner meeting the burden of proof with regard to the 6 factors for determining tree removal as set forth in section 27284.2.5 F4 of the City Code for granting tree removal, specifically that the evidence provided in the record showed that reasonably at least one tree of this property must be removed in order to construct a home given the size and location of these trees, that the tree to the north is the preferred tree to be removed because it saves the 2 trees to the south and still allows construction of the home with a slightly larger front yard setback.
Okay, you have a motion, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Simone Savino, Assistant City Attorney, before the motion's voted on, can you clarify in the motion which one is being approved for removal? Because there's 2 requests, there's 2 trees in the
Yes.
request.
Site Plan Alternate 2, removing the tree to the north.
And they're stated by inches.
I don't know which is which.
Sorry, it's right there. I believe it's the 43 inch.
The 43-inch tree to the north.
Thank you.
I'll
Okay.
still second.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Mr. Pastor, seconded by Ms. Hurtak. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right. Your petition is approved to remove the rear tree. Thank you, and have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
Just for a point of matter, for my own record, my own knowledge, if we're bifurcating one tree versus another tree, does that mean we have to deny the second tree? No. Just approve the one.
Yeah, because I think in that case, right? Right?
Simone Savino, Assistant City Attorney. In this case, I think because of the motion was specific to the 43, I think you're covered. If it was any other language, I think we would need to have a motion to deny the other one, if that makes any sense. I agree that what the board just voted on is very specific to just one of the trees.
And you can always approve less than what was noticed if you choose,
Okay.
but not more.
I mean, my point of confusion would be, since I'm not knowing the direction of
Yeah,
your motion,
yeah,
I would have loved to see both trees removed. I think the other additional one in the middle of the driveway is very dangerous. It's gonna cause destruction of vehicles and all kinds of issues for the home. But we didn't have a chance to discuss that. And then we went directly to a motion to approve one, which I'm fine taking the big one out. I just also think the other one should be taken out.
All right, so just to address that point, what we can do is, when a motion is made, you can request discussion on the motion.
Therefore, I tried.
You requested it before the motion, so the preferred, and this is not my preferred, the preferred methodology that has been followed by this board is the preference is to have a motion first, followed by discussion if needed. And so I wasn't sure where he was going with that either, but what you would want to do is, before we vote, say, can we have discussion on it?
Noted. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. And I'm sorry that it was not clarified before. It is, I guess. It's all on me, man. Okay, 2233.
Right. The next case before the board is VRB 2233. This is addressed at 3102 West Oakland Avenue. The property owners are Isaac and Olivia Carros, and this is zoned RS 75, residential single family. They're requesting to remove one grand tree, and this is to construct a new garage structure, and the code section in reference to section 27-284. This is an aerial showing that property. It is a corner lot in the South Tampa Planning District. It is also in the Parkland Estate Overlay District. This is the site plan that the survey that the applicant provided, showing the existing tree, and this is the existing conditions right now. There is an existing garage. They are replacing the existing garage and building in the same footprint. However, because they are increasing, this is going from a 1-story to a 2-story, they are required to have footers that would extend past where the current footers are now. The footers would be bigger and deeper than they are currently, and that would impact the existing tree. So this is the proposed site plan for the new structure. So it sits exactly in the same position as the current garage. This is the tree right here, and they have some additional outdoor space that they're adding to their property. As required, they have provided 2 alternative site plans in order to see the potential of saving the tree. In this plan, they're moving the proposed pool a little further away and moving the garage a little further off the current footprint. And this is the second one with the reconfiguration of that pool. This was reviewed by Natural Resources and found consistent, and consistent with conditions, saying that due to the changes in the footers for the reconstruction of the garage, the roots of this grand tree would be impacted. Transportation found them consistent, and right of way as well. There are no letters of objection or support for this variance request. And in the determination of the request before the board, you shall consider section 27-284 and section 27-80 to grant the removal of a grand tree. If there are any questions, staff will be available on the ground.
Okay, if the applicant could approach, could state your name, your address, confirm that you've been sworn, and then you will have 10 minutes.
Thank you. Isaac Ruiz Cruz, 3102 West Oakland Avenue, and yes, I have been sworn in. I live at,
Apologies. Staff provided the response from the applicant to the Natural Resources memo, and I provided a copy of that for all the board members.
if I may proceed, Mr. Chairman.
Please, you have 10 minutes.
I live at 3102 West Oakland Avenue. The home is a 1925 home. It's one of the 3 original homes in Parkland Estates. What you don't see in the site plan is that originally, like all of the Parkland Estates lots, they're actually deeper than they appear. And the original garage from 1925, which we can see in some old photographs if you go down to the library, was behind our home. But one of the prior owners of our home, before we were involved, I guess it rotted and whatever, destroyed it and subdivided the lot. And now he lives in the home that he built in that part of the lot. But on the site plan, you can see that the rear fence is right up against the back of the home, so there's no place to put a garage where it was originally intended by the builder in 1925. What is currently in place says it's a garage. It's not actually a garage. It's a carport. It looks like a garage from the front, but it's open in the back where the tree is. So it's essentially a cave of wonders with pollen pouring in and dirt and dust, so it's not very useful. And simply, since it's a carport, it's not constructed to be able to sustain the weight of a garage, let alone a 2-story garage, which is what we intend to do. Because we're in the Parkland Estates Overlay District, we also have those additional setbacks that are laid out in the Parkland Estates Overlay Act. Originally, and I appreciate Mr. Madhu talking about this, originally you'll see in the Excel documents that Natural Resources found that this was inconsistent. I responded with a memorandum, and then they changed the position to consistent with conditions. And that was because I don't think Mr. Eister had contemplated the fact that this was a 2-story structure with new footers that were being built, and now they did, and so they find that it's consistent. We meet each of the VRB's established criteria for hardship. First, there's a complete inability to construct the garage on our property because of the location of the tree. We contracted with 2 architects, Clement Foss and Joseph Pembo, to try and find any workaround. We would like to preserve the tree canopy. I mean, we live in South Tampa. That's part of the allure of living on our street. But it is not possible, as demonstrated in the 2 alternative site plans, even with the additional percentage that's allowed to move forward in the setback. It would not be possible to move the garage far enough forward to get far enough away from that oak tree to be able to maintain the distance that's required. And the same thing is true with the pool in the site plan and the pavilion. It would be impossible to move them away far enough away to maintain the adequate distance for the grand oak without it being in the Neander's yard or the thrift's yard. I mean, it would just not be able to be on our property. The hardship or practical difficulty does not arise from any action of ours. The tree was planted prior to our ownership of the home. The necessary placement of the garage arose, as I indicated, from the earlier owner who subdivided the lot and made it impossible to construct the garage where it was originally intended to be constructed. The variance also has no effect, frankly, on the neighbors. It does not provide shade to any of our neighbors' lots. It also is completely behind the existing carport, so it aesthetically doesn't even add to the aesthetics of the appeal of the street or the house. All you see is some of the limbs. If you're on the sidewalk, you can see some of the limbs up behind the carport, but it's not one that adds really to the allure of the house. In addition, The construction of the garage, the two-story garage, adds about 1,000 square feet to our home, so it increases the ad valorem tax basis of our home. And that actually would benefit, frankly, the city, the community, and the neighbors, because we are constructing something that would be in keeping with the integrity, the historic integrity and charm of our home and the neighborhood. The variance is in harmony with and would serve the general intent and purposes of the chapter and Tampa's comprehensive plan. I think that much is found by the fact that the Tampa departments have all found this to be consistent. And allowing the variance would result in substantial justice being done. It allows us to deal with the practical difficulty and hardship of not being able to have a viable garage on our property. The existing carport is rotten and falling, and we need a garage on our property. There's no public benefit to prohibiting the variance. And as we indicated, what's more, this would increase ad valorem taxable property. I also uploaded onto Excella, if I might.
While you still got time and while you're doing that, I just want to make one note for you, and that is that you are reciting the hardship criteria for section 27-80, which is a variance criteria. What we're operating under here this evening for removal of a tree is 27-284.2.5. So just for clarity's sake, you went through and did a wonderful job addressing the variance hardship criteria, but that's not the criteria we're in. So while you still got plenty of time, I wanted to point that out for you.
And I also want to point out, I thought it was both that were applicable when there was a variance request for the removal of a grand oak. I went through the meeting minutes for all of the ones that are publicly available online, which the last that you had available was September of 2021, going back to January of 2021. There have been 9 requests for the removal of 13 trees. There have been no denials in that period from January to September 2021. And in each instance, this board approved the removal of grand oaks. Our grand oak, the diameter, we included the arborist report from Mr. Riley. It's a 35-inch grand oak. A 35-inch grand oak would make it the second smallest grand oak that has been approved by this board. And as we indicated, I mean, it renders our property not having a garage. It definitely devalues the property, makes it a significant hardship on us as property owners not being able, for example, if there was a storm and the carport was destroyed, we wouldn't be able to rebuild because of the existing issue with that tree being there. And that's certainly a concern that could occur. But here we want to improve our property, we want to have a garage, and there's no way to construct a garage because of the limitations, because of the setbacks created by the Parkland Estates Overlay Act and the existing setbacks under the zoning regulations. I don't know if there's any other questions.
So we will have time for questions in a moment. Is there anything else you wanted to present to us this evening in your general presentation?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this presentation or on this application? Seeing none. Now, are there any questions from members of the board for the applicant or for staff this evening?
Taking a look at the tree, in the picture of the tree report, the arborist report, it looks pretty close to the existing foundation of patio and such. Are you having any root issues causing damage to the existing structure?
Yeah, very significant issues, but this was something that Mr. Riley indicated is not within the purview of the arborist report that's submitted in this type of variance request. Not only are we having issues with the root, and the roots are actually underneath the carport and causing damage to the carport, and it has caused a change in the grade, so the carport floods every time that it rains because of the roots from that tree. But also the entire west-facing side of our home is covered in mold and is constantly something that is causing rot damage to where our master bedroom is. And as a 1925 home, maybe the builders didn't know about live oaks at that time because it was essentially pine scrubland, as I understand that section of the Inner Bay Peninsula in 1925. But the live oaks drop a significant amount of leaves and pollen. This is flat roof. So I'm constantly out there, and my wife's trying to re-up our life insurance while I'm out there pushing with a broom to get all of the leaves and stuff off of the structure because it has caused significant roof damage. We have to continuously be repairing the roof or replacing portions of the roof. So yes, there has been existing physical damage to the structure and the structures that are there, but I did not understand that to be part of what could be presented in the competent substantial evidence in the arborist report.
All right, any other questions?
Sorry, a comment from legal. Simone Savino, Assistant City Attorney. As the chair reminded the board, any determinations or motions should be utilizing the section 27-284.2.5 criteria. So you are correct. That's the basis for any determinations tonight.
Thank you. I did have one question for, I think this would go to staff. Ms. Madhu, the applicant mentioned that if the carport came down, it could not be rebuilt. The issue that's triggering this, well, maybe you can clarify. Is the issue that's triggering this the existing or torn down carport, or is it the two-story component of the carport that's causing the issue here? That seems to be my confusion. That's where I'm having trouble.
Jane Amadi, Development Coordination. I'm not sure as to why he said he would not be able to rebuild.
And I'm not concerned about that. I'm just trying to sort through, as I understood it when you talked earlier, you were talking about the footings that are needed for the two-story component of this?
Correct.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. But it's purely the footings. It's not going up into the branches or anything of that nature?
No, so, well, with the having a second story on top of this structure, that means that you need to have deeper footers, you need to have wider footers in order to carry the weight of the second story. So that is just going to further impact this existing tree.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It had nothing to do with the height of the canopy.
I think that clarifies it for me. Thank you for that. Okay, any other questions before we move into any rebuttal time? No? All right. Mr. Cruz, you have 3 minutes to rebut or talk about any other issues that you think.
I could just address the confusion
You're
if there
welcome to
was.
do so.
So the existing canopy is over the top of the existing carport garage. The structure, the tree is only a few feet away from the back of the carport and garage. And if we were to build a garage there, whether it's one story or 2 stories, you're disrupting significantly the roots of the tree because you're 5-6 feet away from the trunk of the tree. And then in addition to that, whether it's 1 story or 2 story, you're getting into the canopy of the tree. If it's 2 story, obviously you invade the canopy of the tree in a more significant way than if it's a 1 story structure. I think with respect to the footers, the site plans that we submitted contemplate that it's a 2-story structure that's being built, and therefore the necessary footers that are needed for a 2-story structure. But I think even if it was a 1-story structure, my understanding of how that would need to be engineered, the slab that's in place would still be insufficient. So there would still be a need to tear it up and rebuild, which would disrupt the roots. Because I think any disruption of the roots that near the trunk inside of that radius is likely to cause damage to the tree, from my discussions with Mr. Riley. But hopefully that clarifies rather than causes more confusion as I did earlier. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll close the public hearing and open it up for a motion and or board discussion if necessary before motion, preferably after motion.
I'm looking at the survey, and it looks like the oak tree must be over 12 to 15 feet away from the garage right now. So I guess it's a new configuration of a garage, and it's 2 stories tall, and the tree is in really good health, which is why it's, young, and it can still kind of, it's very viable. I think you could replace the garage with better construction, maybe not a 2-story, but within the right, probably even a larger footprint than what's shown, but that's shown existing, I should say. So I'm tempted to say that this is a self-created hardship.
Okay, so does anyone want to make a motion about this, and we can sort through that, or did you want to make a motion on that basis?
Okay, I was just.
Okay, you're waiting to see what other people have to say? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. It may not be popular. I move for the variance request for case VRB 22-33 for property located at 3102 West Oakland Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for removal of a grand tree, based upon the petitioner meeting the burden of proof with regard to the 6 factors determining tree removal set forth in section 27-284.2.5 F4 of the city code for granting tree removal, specifically that the evidence provided on the record show that the existing tree is very close to the existing structure. It's causing damage to the existing garage, it's causing damage to the existing home and the foundation of the existing home, causing mold, water retaining inside the existing garage. The proposed building and structure, removing that tree will alleviate that issue of the damage to the foundation of the current existing home. And the alternative construction methods will not provide the necessary garage and storage areas that are currently on the site, due to the fact the existing garage is the only place that the garage could be rebuilt. That should be enough.
Okay, motion by Mr. Murphy, seconded by Mr. Pastor. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. All those opposed? Okay. The motion passes 3-2. Okay.
The next case before the board is VRB 22-12. This is addressed at 4939 West Melrose Avenue North. This is zoned RS 100, residential single family. And the request is to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 5.5, and the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 12 feet, 12.5 feet. And I would ask that at this point, the applicant confirm that the vehicular entrance setback variance is no longer required. See. No, I'm saying you no longer require the vehicular variance, correct?
Steve Michelini, and I've been sworn. What Jonathan has indicated to me is that if the variance is approved, then we don't need the vehicular access reduction. And I mean, he can say that too. But.
Well, I think, so for clarity's sake, Ms. Badu, you're trying to clarify what is being, what is
the variance
in and
is.
out of the request.
Correct.
Correct. So, but I think what the applicant is saying is that will depend upon confirmation from transportation.
So new site plans were provided, and I have provided the board with those site plans.
That's what
Transportation,
we're looking at
yes,
here.
transportation has said that they do meet the requirements for transportation. So at this point, the variance request to reduce the vehicular entrance for garage is not required.
It's unnecessary.
It's unnecessary.
All right, so since it's unnecessary, it doesn't need to be part of the request?
Correct.
Mr. Scott, can you confirm that?
I think that you might want to include that, because it's 10 to 5 still, right? Yeah.
10 to 5:45.
Well, he has that, so he.
Oh, yeah, you moved it back, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is, we relocated the
Yeah, you
garage.
don't need it anymore, right? Okay. I just wanted to.
There's another entrance here for, this is part of the other.
Right.
The enclosed garage.
Yeah, Jonathan Scott, Transportation Planning, that, they don't need that anymore, that is correct, for the
Okay.
vehicle entrance.
So on the record, there is no need to request a vehicular entrance setback from 10 feet to 5.5 feet, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's not part of the request anymore because it's unnecessary, so we'll remove it.
Correct.
Cool.
And the purpose for the variance request is to construct a new single-family residence. The code section in reference is section 27-156. And for the RS 100 zoning district, the front setbacks are 25 feet in the front, 20 feet in the rear, and 7 feet on the sides. We have an aerial that shows the subject property. This is in the South Tampa Planning District. It is a waterfront property. And this is a survey of what was the existing structure at the time. It has been demoed. And this is the new site plan that the applicant has provided, showing the proposed new single-family structure that would be going in place of this. The front setback is, the variance is requesting, one of the variance requests is for the front setback to reduce that to 5.5 because there is a cul-de-sac, and that kind of eats into that front setback where the bulb out is. And that site plan depicts that, showing the 2 parking spots that have been provided by the applicant. This shows the rear end where we have waterfront properties. The rear setback is measured from the principal structure to the middle of the seawall, and here the seawall on this property jogs out. It's more evident here where this is the seawall that kind of jogs out right here. So they are consistent on one end, and on the other end, they require a variance request to reduce that variance rear foot setback from 20 to 12.5 feet. They've also provided an elevation of what the proposed structure would look like. This was reviewed by Natural Resources and found consistent with conditions that they comply with all the landscape technical standards and code at the time of permitting. Right-of-way found them consistent as well, and the conditions for transportation has been satisfied, so at this point they are consistent. We have no letters of support at this point. Staff has no letter of support. However, there has been one letter of objection, and that was included in the packet that you received for the determination of the variance review request before the board. The board shall consider section 27-80 for the criteria to approve or deny the variance request before you. And if there are any questions, I'll be on hand. You want to come?
All right, come on up, state your name, your address, and if you've been sworn.
Steve McElhaney, I'm representing Stress Free Construction, and yes, I have been sworn. I do have 2 letters of support from the 2 adjacent property owners that I'll put into the record, but I want to show you the proximity of those locations first. Let me go to the original plat. This is lot 13, and the original plat, you see the cul-de-sac. This dimension right here for this leg of the property is 74 feet. The principal leg over here is 93.5 feet. That's a reduction on this corner alone of 19 feet. And if you extended this property line out, this would extend out an additional 45 feet. And what we've tried to do is to accommodate that issue at the same footprint as the previous home that was located there, and it was at 5.5 feet off the property line. I also have all of the conditions that were established, and this was platted in 1956. It was finally recorded in 1957. This is an aerial photograph of the property, and you can see in the rear the cutout, and I'm assuming this occurs all the way down on Melrose, and I'm not really sure what the intent was, except perhaps for a boat dock. But because the code requires you to measure from the seawall and not from the property line, then we're disadvantaged by 11 feet. So that's why we're requesting the reduction in the rear yard setback here. and it only occurs in this corner here. That's where we're applying the setback. The remainder of the rear setback for the property will meet the required 20 feet. The same thing is true here on the front where the cul-de-sac is. When you get to this point here, it's approximately 25 feet away from the corner. And then at that point, it will meet the 25-foot setback. So this corner is where we have the impact and where we're asking for relief. Neither of those conditions were created by us. They were there by plat or by design when they constructed the subdivision. This line here shows you the impact that we're reducing. It's 11 feet off of the property line. We own all the way out to here, which is water, but the seawall is here and we have to measure from there. And our proposal is to, from this point over, we'll be meeting the 20-foot rear yard setback. And the same thing is true in the front, as I mentioned to you. We've lost all of this, potentially lost this property to accommodate the cul-de-sac, and that extends from the property line to about 25 feet before it becomes a regular 25-foot setback, which we will meet. This is a little bit of a larger view to show you. We have 11 feet between the edge of the property line and the edge of pavement for the cul-de-sac. So we have an additional buffer area. It's not our property, but it's additional buffer area. And one thing that I failed to point out to you was that the house here is lined up with that 5-foot setback reduction. So we're not creating, it's not coming any closer to any of the other homes along the entire street. It is in line with the rest of them. This is just another drawing showing you the same thing. And we oriented the garages so that you can see in here that we have a lot of space in there from the front yard. We're not trying to bring this corner out to the 5 feet. We're only asking for the area that's impacted here, which is 25 feet from the west property line. This is another detail showing you, I'm not sure you can see this dimension, but when we get to this area right here, we're 25 feet right there from the front to the front of the house. Can you see that, or do I need to blow it up? So, like I said, we're not trying to maximize the impact of a reduction in the setback. We're simply trying to accommodate the fact that that cul-de-sac is there. And this is another detail, again showing you the detail of the 25 feet, and then we're 25 feet from the corner. And this shows you the extent of the seawall, and we will be meeting the setback if you grant us the reduction to 12 feet. It accommodates the 11 feet for that seawall that's existing. Now I'll go through the general criteria. The alleged hardships or practical difficulties are unique and singular to this property with respect to the structure, and that they're not suffered in common with others. This property, the owner did not create this conflict with the site plan. They didn't design the cul-de-sac. It was platted in there. I showed you the original plat that showed how it was constructed. The cutout in the back was not his either, and we're trying to accommodate for that. The seawall extends 11 feet into the property, and we're trying to accommodate that so that we can meet the rear yard setback for the remainder of the rear yard, except for that portion that abuts the seawall. The same thing occurs in the front. We're asking for a 5.5 feet reduction at the nearest point, only to the first 25 feet, so that we can accommodate the impact of the cul-de-sac on the property. And as I showed you on the plat, the extension of that cul-de-sac removes 19 feet from what would have been the extension of the property line. It's an imaginary extension to the corner, but that's 19 feet that we are not able to use. The practical difficulties didn't result from anything done by the applicant, and I think that I've demonstrated that he had no control over that and did not create that. It will not substantially interfere with the rights of others or harm the health, safety, or welfare of others and the property, and it would be affected by the allowance of the variance. The variance is in harmony and serves the general intent of the code with respect to providing relief when appropriate. I believe that this is a clear case of appropriate relief being requested, and if it was supplied and granted, that would serve the purposes of the code. It would be result in substantial justice being done in this chapter, and the individual hardships and practical difficulties suffered by a failure of this board to grant the variance. It would indeed cause a hardship. I have 2 letters here, one from each of the adjacent property owners. And again, I'll show you where they're located. Where am I going here? There we go. I have a letter from this property owner here and this property owner here, who would be the only 2 that would be adversely affected by the front yard setback. This property here has the same issue regarding the cutout in the rear, and so does this property here. And I have photographs to show you about that. This is the cutout. You can see it here. And this is the front yard setback with a cul-de-sac, and you can see the flags for utilities. So anyway, this is from the property owner at 4937. I wanted to let you know that we will not be opposing the variance that was requested.
30 seconds, Mr. McLean.
And for 4941 Melrose, I support, that's the corner property here. I support the setback reductions for the neighboring both homes, for the rear, both the front and rear, and will definitely add beauty to the neighborhood and increase our values. And I have no objections. I'll be happy. Do I give this to staff, or who wants this? I'm done.
Are there any members of the audience who would like to speak on this petition this evening? Seeing none. Any questions from members of the board? I guess I have one. Mr. McBellini, you said the footprint of the new house is roughly the same footprint as the prior. Was that, did I hear that?
The areas where the setback variances are being requested is the same.
All right, so
it will meet the code with respect to all of the side yard setbacks and the rear yard setbacks, except for the areas where we're asking for the variance in the front and the rear.
okay, but what I'm trying to understand is the home that was there before the new construction that's being put in had similar, where it was situated was similar in the setbacks, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Where the relief is being requested.
Thank you, that's all I wanted to know. Anyone else have any other questions? All right, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal, Mr. McLean.
I'm good if you're good. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Oh, did you want to address the letter of objection? I think you mentioned that you wanted to show us where that was.
I don't know exactly where this is, because they didn't,
There's an address on it.
4901 which is all the way at the other end of the street, they would not be adversely impacted in any respect whatsoever. That's why I went to the two adjacent property owners who potentially could be impacted. And their comments are reducing the required front setback by 80% would ruin the look and feel of the neighborhood. And I think I've demonstrated to you that it's in line with the rest of the homes with respect to the way that they are oriented. That front yard setback only applies to the corner where the cul-de-sac impacts it. And it gradually increases as you go down further down the property line.
Well, and that's why I asked you what the pre-existing home setbacks were. So,
That, it was 5.5 feet. The previous home was at 5.5, and that's what we're requesting, 5.5.
okay. All right, so do you have anything else to add in your rebuttal, anything along those lines?
No, sir, unless you have further questions.
I do not. Okay. Well, with that, I will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion, or we're going to try board discussion. I'll give an opportunity for it after. I'm going to try and remember to do that after each motion that we make, to have an opportunity for board discussion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that the variance request for case VRB 22-12 for property located at 4939 West Melrose Avenue North, be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction at the front yard setback from 25 feet to 5.5 feet and a rear yard setback from 20 feet to 12.5 feet, with an encroachment for eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that the site is constrained by an irregular lot shape both in the front and the rear, and that this home will be replacing a home that had similar setbacks.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion on this petition before we vote? Okay, well then, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right.
Thank you very much, board. We appreciate your.
Okay. VRB 22-22.
Please stand. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give today is the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may have a seat.
This is VRB 2222. This is addressed at 3601 South Waverly Circle. This is zone RS60, residential single family. The property owners are Jerry West Peebles / trustee, and the applicant is Keith Stanton. The variance request before the board is to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 11 feet, and the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 6.5 feet. And this is an aerial showing the subject property. It is a corner lot in the South Tampa Planning District. It is an irregularly shaped kind of triangular lot. This is the site plan that the applicant has provided, showing the proposed new single-family structure or residence that is proposed for this property. This was reviewed by Natural Resources, Transportation, and Right-of-Way. Natural Resources found them consistent with conditions, that mitigation would be required for any trees removed on the site, and they would need to comply with the landscape code at the time of permitting. Transportation had comments with no objection. However, they would need to put in the 5-foot side work. along the right-of-way at the time of building permits, and had comments about the auto turn and the correct software to use for that. Right-of-way had the comment, they found them inconsistent, and they show structure over existing stormwater culverts. There are no letters of support or opposition for this variance request. The transportation memo from staff was included in the packet. These are pictures showing the existing property. It is a vacant lot, and this is going to be new construction. In the determination of the variance request, the board shall consider section 27-80 as the criteria for approving or denying the request before you, and I am available if there are any questions.
Okay, thank you. Applicant, come on up, state your name, your address, confirm for us that you've been sworn, and you will have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
Hi, good evening. Keith Stanton, 3139 West Waverly Avenue. I'm architect and owner of Domain Development, and yes, I have been sworn.
Perfect. 10 minutes, fire away.
Great. So thank you for hearing me tonight. Yes, so the site plan we've developed is primarily due or driven by the presence of two submerged stormwater lines. The city of Tampa has stormwater lines, 2 4-foot by 5-foot box culverts that run approximately 4 feet below grade that bisect the site. So as far as hardship goes, that pre-existed any involvement, any ownership by the of the site, and would represent a significant cost of construction should we have to locate the entire home over the top of it. It can be done, but it does bear significant cost. So I believe the hardship requirement had been met. There is no detriment to any neighbors in the area. The setback reductions that we're requesting are the front from 25 feet down to 11 feet, and the rear from 20 feet down to 6.5 feet. It still provides in the front yard, should that reduction be granted, still provides 32 feet from the structure to the curb, and in the rear 25 feet from the structure to the curb. So it's consistent with the neighborhood. The adjacent property to the south, a similar petition, I believe it was VRB 1365, was approved, and with a significant reduction in front yard setback to also avoid the stormwater lines that run behind that property through that property as well. So that's it in a nutshell. If you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Okay. Does that complete your presentation?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this petition? Seeing none, is there any questions from the board? Seeing none. All right. You have 3 minutes for rebuttal.
Only if you have
All right.
questions.
Thank you. I will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion from the board.
Make a motion.
Thank you.
I move that variance request for case VRB 2222 for the property located at 3601 South Waverly Circle be granted as depicted on the site plan and presented at the public hearing for a reduction in the front yard setback from 25 feet to 11 feet and rear yard setback from 20 feet to 6.5 feet with encroachment of eaves and gutters. Based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record of this public hearing of a necessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 2780 of the city code. Specifically that there are some box culverts running through the property, pretty much through the middle of the property. That's an incredibly oddly shaped, curved triangular corner lot that has enormous right-of-ways from the property to the road. that keep the position of the proposed home consistent with the surrounding neighborhood, and that there are very limited options available on a site this shape and size, especially considering the culvert.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Pastor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Pastor, second by Ms. Hurtak. Is there any need for discussion on this petition? All right, seeing none, let's vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Your petition passes. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Board.
All right, we have some applicants for VRB 22-23.
Please stand and raise your right hand.
Anyone who's going to be speaking this evening, let's swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give today is the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may have a seat.
The next case before the board is VRB 2223. This is addressed at 5119 West Ingraham Street. This is zoned IG Industrial General. The property owner is Schmickman Incorporated, and the variance request is to reduce the front yard setback from 10 feet to 2.2 feet. And this is to maintain the existing setbacks for the structure on the site and enclose the existing porch. The code section in reference is section 27-156, where the setbacks for the IG zoning district are 10 feet for the front, 0 for the rear, and 0 for the sides. This is an aerial showing that property. It is a through lot, an interior lot in the South Tampa Planning District. It has Ingraham on one side, and it has Commerce Street on the north end. This is a site plan that the applicant has provided showing the existing building, and the portion of that structure that is in the hatch is the existing porch that they're looking to enclose. Currently, the structure is at 2.2 feet, and they're looking to vest the entire structure. This is the building plan as it's shown. This is a storage area, and then the porch again to be enclosed. The applicant provided plans showing what that would look like once it's completed. This was reviewed by Natural Resources, Transportation, and Right-of-Way, and found consistent. There are no letters of support or opposition for this variance request. Staff has received no correspondence. There's also no staff reports as well. The applicant provided pictures showing the existing condition on the site. This shows the existing storage building and potentially what could be that property line where the sidewalk starts, and also the front porch that they're looking to enclose. More pictures showing that adjacent to this structure is a retention pond on one side, and on the other end, again, zoned IG is some kind of parking facility. In the determination of the variance request presented before the board tonight, you would consider section 27-80 as the criteria for approving or denying the variance request presented before you. If you have any questions, I will be available.
All right, thank you, Ms. Madhu. Is the applicant here for 22-23? Come on up, state your name, your address, and confirm for us that you've been sworn, please.
My name is Ed Dickinson, the president of Schmickman Incorporated, and I reside at 5714 Inner Bay Boulevard, Tampa, Florida. I have been sworn in.
Terrific, thank you very much. You have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
This variance issue was not created by myself or the previous owner. Historically, I have a 1995 Google aerial that shows that this building was well within conformity prior to the installation of the sidewalk and apparently some sort of taking. And that created the setback issue at the time. But when this was originally constructed, it was well within the 10-foot setback in industrial general setbacks. So it was conforming. And so the hardship which just came is when the sidewalk was put in. And so the other hardship I have is that the structure itself is aging. And it's a aged wood structure semi-enclosed that I do feel that could be a hazard to my existing building and possible neighbors if there's any sort of major storm, hurricane. And so I'm looking just to make something a little more substantial, enduring, and it'll be aesthetic also. And at the time of completion, the whole building will be painted. And I think it would be a nice addition, to the neighborhood. But also I don't see any impediment at all to the use of the sidewalk. Nothing's really changed. But I appreciate your consideration on this variance. I do have photos if you'd like to see from 1995 Google Earth that shows that this building was well in compliance when it was built. And then around towards the end of 1990 is when they installed the sidewalk, which then created this setback issue.
I would say if you have pictures, go ahead and show them to us. We appreciate that.
This is my property, and you can see that there was no sidewalk installed at the time in 1995. And the next Google Earth, and these are the most recent of the aerials provided by Google Earth. You can see in 1998, the installation of the sidewalk, which then made the property having the conformity issues that we have now. I'm not asking for new construction. I'm not putting any additional square footage. The building that would actually stay within the same footprint of the actual semi-enclosed wood structure. As per the previous photo that was provided, you can see that without the sidewalk, there was plenty of distance and conformity for the setback. You can see also that any addition would not impede any use of the sidewalk whatsoever. I'm literally just asking to put something a little bit more substantial than that's there now that will be enduring and lasting. And aesthetically pleasing, and I do believe adding to the area. So basically, just to sum it up, the hardship is that I have an aging structure that I don't believe that would survive any sort of major storm event. I do think it could be a hazard to others. I think it could be a hazard to my building. And so I'm just asking if you guys would definitely please consider allowing the reconstruction, not a new structure, but just a reconstruction of the existing structure to a more substantial, enduring, aesthetic building. And that pretty much concludes it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak about this petition this evening? Seeing none, is there anyone on the board who has questions for the petitioner this evening? No? Oh, okay, go ahead.
I think I have a question relating to this 2-foot setback. I'm looking at the site plan. It looks, I'm having trouble, like, where is the property? Is it lot 9, 10, 11, and 12 that will gain this 2 new variants of 2 feet from the front? Or is it just lot 9, 10, and 11? Or
Well, lot 9 I'm trying to think, I don't really have the answer to that question. My building is already existing and it's 2.2 feet from the sidewalk. So I can't answer you, I could pull up the legal description. Are you asking me actually what,
Well,
how
so
this 2.2 traverses?
This variance, it goes for your entire
Oh,
property.
I'm sorry.
so-
Yes, ma'am, I see what you're asking me. I'm sorry, I got the survey here. 9 and 10, lots 9 and 10 hold the existing structure. Is that what you're asking me? Everything else is vacant. So the 2.2 feet only involve lots 9 and 10. Did that answer your question?
And Ms. Johnson, Simone Savino, Assistant City Attorney, we can have Jane pull up the site plan for you so we can clarify specifically.
I have a
what
site
you're-
plan here if you want to see it.
Sure.
I think I can help you out. The property does encumber those 4 lots.
It does?
All the way across.
So this
But
variance would mean
I think we would have to hold this variance specific to this site plan. I agree with you. I don't think we could take it
all the way.
across.
That's kind of what I was trying to figure out, like, what was the property? It looks like there's a lot of lots, so it's all these lots that would gain that variance. Is that correct?
How y'all proceed is we'll look at, I'm literally asking for the variance for the structures that is structure that's on lots 9 and 10, that traverses lots 9 and 10. I'm not asking for a variance on anything else thereafter on any other lot.
I'm just, can we do that?
So you would make, if that's the intent of the board, you would make your motion specific to the lots depicted that you want it to extend on this site plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, good question. Any other questions? All right. You have 3 minutes for rebuttal, should you need it.
I don't, I'm finished, thank you.
Okay, let's close the public hearing and open it up for motion from the board.
I can do it.
Great.
So we have 23. That the variance request for case VRB 2223 located at 5119 West Ingram Street as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction of the front yard setback from 10 feet to 2.2 feet with encroachment for the eaves and gutters with the following conditions: that the front yard setback is only allowed for lot 9 and 10. That said variance as conditioned be granted based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in 27-80 of the city code, specifically that the building is already existing and the enclosure area is already existing, or I should say the covered area, but wanting to be enclosed. So there is no significant effect to the neighborhood.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Motion approved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Is there any need for discussion on this motion? Seeing none, let's vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right. The motion passes. The petition is granted 5-0. Have a good evening.
Thank you, board.
BRB 22-26.
We're making progress. This is VRB 2226. This is addressed at 501 North Matanzas Avenue. The property owner are Christopher and Julie Swigon, and the applicant is Edward Diaz. This is zoned RS50, residential single family. And the variance request here before the board is to reduce the corner yard setback for air conditioning equipment from 11 feet to 8 feet. And this is to keep the air conditioning equipment in its current location. The code section in reference is section 27-290.6, where in the corner yards, the air conditioning equipment setback are 11 feet for the corner, 3 for the side, and 3 for the rear. And this property is and this is an aerial showing the property in question. It is a corner lot at the intersection of North Matanzas and West Gray Street. And this is in the Central Planning District of the City of Tampa. So because it's a corner lot, the side setback for the AC equipment is supposed to be at 11 feet. They are currently at 8 feet. And this is the site plan that the applicant has provided, showing that 8-foot setback. There's a picture showing the existing condition. That is that corner right there where the fence is being shown. And on the interior, they have showed where that AC unit is and the distance between the unit and the fence, which I presume is where the property line is. This was reviewed by Natural Resources and Right of Way and found consistent. We have no letters of support or of opposition for this variance request. Staff has provided no memos regarding their reviews as well. In the determination of this variance request, the board shall consider section 27-80 as the criteria for approving or denying the variance before you. And staff will be available if you have any questions or need further clarification.
Quick question for you before you step off. So just
Sure.
to clarify, because we've seen this issue before, the setback for AC equipment, noise, issues like that, that's the purpose of it. Is that generally correct? To deal with, to worry about noise from neighbors and things like that, right?
Correct.
But in this instance, we've got a setback from the street.
Correct.
Correct? Because it's a corner lot.
Because it's a corner lot.
Okay.
So if this were an interior lot, that setback would be 3 feet.
Okay,
But because it's a corner lot, it's expected to be at 11 feet.
right. And 11 feet from the street, we're not measuring it from,
Not from the structure, not from the residence.
right, but not from any other neighbors. that
No,
are-
it's usually from the property line.
Okay, that's all. Thank you. All right, applicant, come on up, state your name, your address, confirm that you've been sworn, and then you'll have 10 minutes to.
Eddie Diaz, presently residing in Carrollwood. I'm the builder of record.
And you've been sworn.
I've been sworn in, sorry.
Thank you.
I'm the builder of record on this particular property. This project was started, and I had hired an air conditioning company to relocate the existing, because the parties were living in the house, I had to relocate the air conditioning unit in order to build the addition. And because we have actually 36 feet to the roadway, it was kind of just obscured that, oh, it'll fit here. So when we went to go for the final CO, is when, and the final survey, is when it was identified that this was not placed exactly where it needed to be, and obviously there was no way of moving the building or doing anything else to it. So the practical difficulties would have been addressed in the beginning anyway, because there was no way of keeping the house cool and so on and so forth. So what our request is here, because of the premise that we're 30-something feet away from the street, there's no neighbors being affected, we're behind a fence, and it really has no impact. I really thought this was going to be an administrative review. I talked to the building department, they kind of wavered back and forth and then threw it back into your court. So I'm here today to request, on behalf of the homeowner, the approval to allow them to keep the air conditioning units in place.
Okay. Does that complete your presentation this evening?
Try to make it sweet and simple.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak about this petition? Seeing none, Is there anyone on the board who has questions about this petition? Seeing none. You have 3 minutes for rebuttal if you should choose to use it.
Well, if you want me to sing and dance, I mean, it's fine, I can do that, but no, we're fine.
It's a check the box requirement. All right, close the public hearing and open it up for a motion from the board.
Make a motion.
Thank you, sir.
Move that variance request for case VRB 2026 for property located at 501 North Matanzas Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction in the corner yard setback for air conditioning equipment from 11 feet to 8 feet. Based upon the applicant presenting competent substantial evidence in the record at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 2780 of the city code, specifically that this was the only location after an expansion of the home, and that the air conditioning unit is on a corner yard facing a street and not a neighboring property, and that it is behind a fence and not visible from the road.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pastor, second by Ms. Johnson. Is there a need for discussion on this petition? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0.
My pleasure. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Fire away. Folks, if you're going to speak, if there's a chance you might speak tonight, please stand. We're going to swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give today is the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you, ma'am.
The last one was short and sweet. Let's keep it going. VRB case 22-27. This is addressed at 3224 West Harbor View Avenue. The property owners are Christopher and Stephanie Kern, and this is zoned RS60, residential single family, and the variance request before the board is to reduce the side yard setback to the west from 5 feet to 2 feet, and this is for a pool screen enclosure. And the code section in reference is section 27-290.5 regarding screen enclosures. For single family, the setbacks would be 5 feet on the sides and the rear, and the requirement that for the enclosure height above 15 feet, the height, the yard shall be increased by 1 foot. This is the subject property. It's an interior lot in the South Tampa Planning District. And this is a site plan that the applicant has provided showing the existing home and the pool in the rear part of the property towards the south. And then they have provided what that pool enclosure perimeter would look like, and that's what is highlighted in orange, and also the structural plans for this proposed pool enclosure. This is a non-solid roof pool enclosure, so it's not required to meet the principal structure setbacks. This was reviewed by Natural Resources and found consistent with conditions. And they had a comment that the proposed pool enclosure is 1 story. Tree conflicts should be minimal. If any pruning needs to be conducted, it shall be in accordance with section 27-284, and all tree canopy pruning must meet ANSI A300 pruning per the American National Standard for Tree Care Operations and the General Standard for Tree Pruning. There are right-of-way also found inconsistent. Transportation review was not required. We do not have any letters of support or objection on file for this application. And the The applicant has provided pictures showing the existing pool and existing patio in reference to their fence. Here also showing that measurement from the pool edge to the end of the patio, and from the end of the patio to the fence, which I presume is where the property line is. In the determination of this variance request, the board shall consider section 27-80 as the criteria for approving or denying the variance request presented before you. If you have any questions, I will be available to answer them, hopefully.
All right, come on up, state your name, your address, confirm that you've been sworn for us, please, and then you'll have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
Hi, Stephanie Kern, 3224 West Harbor View Avenue, and that's Tampa 33611, and I have been sworn.
Thank you. Did you want to, are you going to speak?
Christopher Kern, 3224 West Harbor View Avenue, Tampa 33611, and yes, I've been sworn.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, you have 10 minutes.
Great. So we bought the home that we're in now in June of 2021, and it had a pre-existing pool. And I don't know if, yeah, I can see it. So the pool area is back here in the back, and it already had the cement pavers around it. And on the one side, this is where we're asking for the variance. It goes within, it's 2 feet from the fence to the end of the patio is. And we are requesting a hardship based on a few things. One, we want the pool enclosure because, as you can see, we have a tough time using the back area. This is after being cleaned like 5 hours previously. So that's why we want to construct the pool enclosure. The area that we're putting in, as you can see, is this is where the fence line, this is 2 feet to here, and this is 3 feet to here. So the other hardship we're asking for is because if we did have to do the 5-foot variance, the pool enclosure would go right along this edge right here. So you would not be physically be able to get out of the pool on that end. Safety, of course, is a concern. We have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. And even though they do know how to swim, if anyone needed to get help, you would only be able to walk around the pool on the 3 sides and not be able to get in or out on that end. So that's why we're requesting the variance.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share, or does that complete your presentation this evening?
I think that's everything.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak about this petition? Seeing none, is there any questions from the board about this petition? Everybody's very quiet tonight. Okay, well, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal, should you choose to use it.
I think that's everything. I think just the main hardship is we want the pool to be safe, and it could be usable for our whole family without worrying about it.
Thank you very much. With that, I will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion from the board.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Hurtado.
I move that the variance request for case VRB 22-27 for property located at 3224 West Harbor View Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction in the side yard setback from 5 feet to 2 feet with an encroachment for eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that this was not a hardship created by the homeowners. They bought the house with the pool already built, And it would be a safety issue if they put this screen in and were not able to, there would be no egress from the pool on that side.
All right, we have a motion and a second by Mr. Pastor. Is there a need for discussion on this motion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Your petition is granted. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's 2 in a row, huh?
Penultimate. All right, so the next case before the board is VRB 2228. This is addressed at 1611 South Arawana Avenue. Property owners are David and Corey Tadros. This is zoned RS50, residential single family, and the variance request presented before the board tonight is to reduce the west side setback from 7 feet to 4.1 feet. And this is for construction of an addition to an existing single family residence. The code section in reference is section 27-156, where the setbacks for the RS 50 zoning district are 20 feet for the front, 20 feet for the rear, 7 for the sides. This is an aerial showing the subject property. It is it's an interior lot in the South Tampa Planning District. And this is a site plan that the applicant has provided showing what is currently existing on the property. And this section towards the south end, per this diagram, is where there's a bulb out, and you see that 4.1 foot setback that is currently existing. This is what is being proposed. So this on the right-hand side is the existing, and on the left-hand side you have what they're proposing with the addition to the existing bedroom. So this is the bedroom right here, and they're looking to extend that out to match what is currently existing. These are pictures that the applicant has provided showing the existing conditions on the site. So this is that wall that exists where the setback is currently at 4.1 feet. This is the bedroom they're looking to extend, and they're looking to bring that to match what is currently existing. This was reviewed by Natural Resources, found consistent. This was reviewed by Right-of-Way and found consistent as well. Transportation review is not required. We do not have any letters of support or opposition for this variance request. And there are no staff memos as to the reviews that were conducted. In the determination of this variance request, the board shall consider section 27-80 as the criteria for the approval or denial of a variance request. And if you have any questions, I will be available.
So if they wanted to do any construction on this house, they would have to vest that regardless.
Right, because currently it is not meeting that setback.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is the applicant here. Come on up, state your name, your address, confirm that you've been sworn, and you'll have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
So, I swore, right? Yeah. My name is Shalom. I'm a general contractor representing David Trados, the owner of 1611, right?
Yes.
South Arawana. So basically,
I'm sorry, your name is Shalom
Halfon, Halfon.
Thank you, and you've been sworn.
I've been sworn.
Thanks.
Yes. So basically, when the first time I came to David is after he been reviewed with many contractor and designers, and And the room right now with is two daughters in one room, which is a very, very small room without a closet space. So our goal is basically just to extend, we're talking about like 12 foot by 2, just for a closet space and egress window and a space for they can do homework, you know, like a, so basically all of that, it's very small. Now, also, we thought because it's already 4.1 existing, so it's not gonna be a problem, and we already have an engineer, we already applied for the permit and everything, we didn't thought it's gonna be any problem, but then we found out that in time, whenever the house was built, it was, it was granted back then, but this date, the city, for some reason, changed the setback from 4 to 7 at this specific area. So after been thinking together with David inside of his house about the solution, we come only to this solution, even though this solution is very expensive and very hard to do. But this is the only solution you have for providing a better room space for children, and you know, it's yeah, basically, and yeah, basically that's it.
Hi, I'm Dave. I've been sworn in, property owner at 1611 South Arawana. My wife wanted to tell you that prior to buying this house, I'm a retired Army officer. We moved 5 times in 4 years, and we're just getting to that point where we've just completely outgrown this house. It's not a bedroom per se on the wall that we're looking to expand. It's 3 large windows. There is no closet. There's nothing that we can place there. This bump out here would allow us to maximize the full potential of that space. The property's already been extended. The setback's already there from the original build in 1925. We've talked to all our neighbors, both across the street and on either side. They will not be impacted. There are no oak trees or any tree or vegetation that's going to be impacted either. That's really what it's coming down to. And the thing that really triggered the bump out with COVID happening, my job ended up being remote, which took additional space and resources from the home to accommodate that. Looking into other areas to where we could potentially utilize the space for my daughter to have a room, it just would have been extra resources to tear down walls and reconfigure the home, which wasn't a viable solution or a cost-effective solution. And that's why we're here for the variance approval.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Does that conclude your presentation this evening?
I'm all set, yes.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this petition this evening? Seeing none, are there any questions from board members for the petitioner on this petition this evening? Seeing none, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal if needed. No? All right, let's close the public hearing, open it up for a motion from a member of the board. Who would like to make a motion? Mr. Murphy, far away.
Sure. I move that the variance request for case VRB 22-39 for property located, that's 2228 for the property located at 1611 South Arawana Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction of west side setback from 7 feet to 4.1 feet. Based upon the applicant presenting competent, substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 2780 of the city code. Specifically, that the homeowner did not create this hardship, that the existing home that has been there for an extremely long time is already sitting within this setback area. He is just trying to enclose a small portion to extend the living area of the home and make the home more usable for today's family standards.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Is there any need for discussion on this motion? No? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right. Petition passes 5-0. Have a great night.
Thank you so much.
My wife, thank you.
Thank you. See you next month.
Thank you. For the record, Mr. Pastor has excused himself from the hearing for 2239. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you. All right. VRB 22-39, the last case for tonight. This is, the property address is, oh, I'm sorry. I'm ready to go.
Gentlemen, you please stand. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give today is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may have a seat.
Okay. The property is addressed at 5016 West Cypress Street. The property owners are the West Shore MOB LLC, and the applicant today is Dave Mechanic. And this is zone MAP1 and MAP3 Municipal Airport Zoning Districts. And the variance request before the board tonight is to reduce the required parking spaces from 382 parking spaces to 325 spaces. And this is for an existing medical office building. Code requirement, code section reference is section 27-283, where for medical, dental, eye, veterinary, or other health-related uses, 6 parking spaces are required per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area. And this is an aerial showing that subject property. Again, it straddles 2 different zoning districts, the MAP1 and the MAP3. And we're seeing currently the parking provided. This location was approved for a design exception for off-site parking in 2018. That was for 58 parking spaces. That was approved through DE1-18-161. The lease agreement was for 5 years. That lease would be terminating next year, and I believe that they are here seeking that variance request. So that when their lease is up, they're no longer required to provide those parking spaces. This was reviewed by Natural Resources, Transportation, and Right-of-Way. Transportation comments, objects to the proposed parking reduction as it might result in overflow parking in the surrounding area, even though the reviewer did agree that the applicant provides a good parking study and justification in his memorandum. Natural Resources commented that all City of Tampa tree and landscape technical manual standards shall be met at the time of construction. And if there are any questions, to reach out to him. We have no letters of opposition or support for this variance request. And we do not have any staff members at this time. This is the site plan that has been provided. And in the determination of this variance request, the board shall consider section 27-80 as the criteria for the approval or denial of this variance request. And staff is available if you have any questions, and as it pertains to the technical aspect of it, Jonathan Scott will be here to address that. Thank you.
All right, come on up.
Good
So
evening,
you have some
Mr.
material
Chairman,
for us.
board members. Mr. Cohen is handing out two things, a statement of
Before
the
you get in anything further, go ahead and state your name, your
Oh,
address.
yes,
and
sir.
confirm that you've
Yes,
been
sir.
sworn.
David Mechanic, 305 South Boulevard, Tampa, Florida. Mr. Cohen just handed out a statement of our hardship variance that was included in the application. Also, some excerpts from the parking study that he performed, which he will describe in just a few moments. Jane did a pretty good job of explaining what the situation is. Because code requires 382 parking spaces, the site currently only provides 325 spaces. So we were required to obtain an off-site lease. Well, over the years, since this property has been occupied by several medical tenants, we observed the fact that no customer or client of the building was using this off-site parking lot. And so the client asked us to seek a variance from this requirement. And pursuant to that, we asked Randy Cohen of Cohen and Company to conduct a parking study. I would like to just comment for a moment. Jonathan Scott with Transportation did object. I do a number of PD zoning applications, and Mr. Scott offers a technical objection in every case, even if the parking reduction is 1 or 2 cars. But the study that we have done amply demonstrates that the full code required parking is not required for this particular project, and the 325 spaces that are currently provided on site are more than adequate to serve the demands of the development. And by the way, there are no physical changes being proposed. We are simply asking to be able to use the parking lot that is provided with this office building. Thank you. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Cohen to speak.
Good evening, Randy Cohen, 4121 West Cypress Street. I have been sworn. I'm the president of Cohen and Company. Have an aerial, just to refresh everything. This is an existing 3-story medical office building, approximately 63,000 square feet and change in size. There are currently, as you can see on the plan, 325 parking spaces on the property. If you were wondering, the actual leased spaces were over in this area for quite some time, which is a contractor's building. The current parking ratio on the site, which is very important here, is 5.1 spaces per 1,000 square feet. Code at this point is 6.0 spaces per 1,000 square feet. So I met with Jonathan and Melanie, city transportation staff, and we performed a parking accumulation study, 120 hours worth of counts over 2 weeks, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. to determine what the actual parking on this property was for the 85% that's occupied at this point. Maximum number we came to was 100 vehicles on a Friday. If we then adjust that particular parking so that we come up with a fully occupied building, the parking demand would be, excuse me, $118 spaces, approximately half of the spaces that currently exist on the property. So I think we're well parked for the building as it operates today. there are 3 medical tenants in the building. The question became, what would we do or what would happen if that tenant's mix changed? We have a very low parking demand for the building. So for that standpoint, we looked at a number of items, being the ITE Parking Generation Manual, which was updated to 5th edition about 3 years ago, looked at parking. Their recommendation on a general basis is 4.3 spaces per 1,000 square feet. If you do the calculations under their criteria for this particular building, which is a very large medical office building, their suggested parking ratio is actually 3.26 spaces per 1,000 square feet. As buildings go up in size, the parking rate per 1,000 square feet go down. Same in large office buildings, same in large shopping centers themselves. And that was based on 117 studies done throughout the United States regarding medical office parking. We didn't stop there. We looked at the ITE journal as well, which makes a general recommendation at this point of 4.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet, and that includes a 10% fluff factor or safety factor. Their actual ratio is about 4. They suggest 4.5. Well, how did we get from 6 per 1,000 to 4.5 per 1,000? Fact of the matter is, going through various medical journals, we have found that through medical planning journals, which these are folks that recommend to doctors the size of their office, the amount of parking they need, the amount of meeting space, etc., that the trend has gone from 5 per 1,000 to 4 per 1,000 over the last 10 years. Looking at the older documentations, you see 5. Looking at the more current, you see 4. You may have all experienced what we do now, a lot of telemedicine, a lot of clinics that provide a lot of services where doctors' offices used to be. Their office waiting rooms are getting smaller and smaller because they don't have that demand. But we didn't stop there. In talking with city staff, we had based the methodology on the criteria the city typically uses. But with city staff, we were very fortunate. They suggested that we also look at the study that they performed almost 20 years ago that increased the city's medical office parking requirement from 5 per 1,000 to 6 per 1,000. They did a cohort study looking at 15 cities and counties across the country that they felt were similar in nature to the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County. They suggested that we update that study and see where it took us to. 6 of these 15 governmental entities have reduced their parking rate for medical office. While they found in the original study 5.6 per 1,000, so they suggested rounding to 6 per 1,000, that today, using those same cities and their same criteria, the parking ratio would be 4.6 spaces per 1,000 square feet. Rounding up, that would be 5 spaces per 1,000 square feet. If we threw out Peoria, because they went from 6 per 1,000 to 0, just to make sure, we still end up with a parking ratio based upon an updated City of Tampa cohort study of 5 spaces per 1,000 square feet. In the case of our particular project, we are 5.1 spaces per 1,000 square feet. So we believe we have completed a study that is very consistent with City of Tampa criteria for a parking accumulation study, showed a very low demand for parking for the medical uses that are there, then performed a technical search and a literature search to determine what's going on in the medical industry for office and the parking required, and then finally updated the city study to today rather than almost 20 years ago, and found that the parking code that the City of Tampa had for medical office 20 years ago before they increased it was 5 per 1,000, and that now is again the most appropriate parking ratio for medical office. Happy to answer any questions that you have. I've got about a 50-page report, but I didn't want to bore you with it.
Who says that would be boring?
If it's not, you'll be one of the very few people that like to talk parking with me. Yes.
Go ahead, you still have time.
Do I have a couple minutes?
You have a minute and 30 seconds.
Okay, I just wanted, I neglected to qualify Mr. Cohen as an expert. Have you testified as an expert before the City of Tampa and in courts in the state of Florida?
Yes, I have.
And you are a certified planner?
Yes.
Okay. Just to wrap up very quickly, I know we're close on time. Mr. Cohen's study involved him reviewing videotape for this 2 weeks worth of workday experiences, and he never once observed a patient of the building needing to park off-site. The point being is that there is no possibility of an adverse impact as a result of the reduction of parking to the 325 spaces. I would also point out there are no residents in this area whatsoever, so there would be no impact whatsoever to homes or residents of the area. Thank you. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this petition this evening? Seeing none. Are there any questions from members of the board on this petition this evening? I have one. Mr. Scott, do you have any comments on the study that was performed? Anything that you observed that you would like to comment on?
Jonathan Scott, Transportation Planning. The study that they did was very thorough, and they did a good job. I thought it was a good justification for their request.
Okay, thank you. That's what I needed. Any other questions from any of the board? You have 3 minutes for rebuttal, should you choose to use it.
Sir, I don't think we need the rebuttal. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Well, with that then, I will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion from the board.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Herzog.
Okay. I move that the variance request for case VRB 22-39 for property located at 5016 West Cypress Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction in required parking from 382 spaces to 325 spaces based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code. Specifically that they did a detailed parking study that shows that even at the highest time of day, there aren't even half of the spaces filled, and the current code requirements for cities similar to ours have reduced their number of parking per 1,000 square feet in the last 20 years.
Okay. We have a motion by Ms. Hertek. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Johnson. Is there a need for discussion on this petition? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Petition passes. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much.
Is there any other business we need to address this evening? No? All right. We're done.
Thank you. Have a great evening.